Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy and I wanted to talk to you today about um, it's a Gen X topic, but more than a topic, it is also another thing that we're being called today, which I hadn't heard it before, but now that I've heard it, I'm like, that's exactly kind of what we are. We're called the sandwich generation. And the reason that we are called that is because we are balancing taking care of adult children and taking care of our parents. And not to say in past years, in any generation, that hasn't been done, but more than ever, it is something that we are having to handle. Now, at the time of making this video, it's only been 4 days since my oldest son and his wife moved out of my house. They were here for 5 months, and there was a time when I was in a relationship that would not have allowed me to have him come live with us. Now, let me also preface that by saying I've been divorced from his father for a very long time. I have 3 kids, and when my youngest was not even a year old, we just decided to call it a day. That is the most annoying bird ever. So I was glad that I was able to offer that help, because again, he was in a situation in the past where I couldn't do that for him. My home wasn't open to him because it wasn't a joint decision. And now that I'm alone, it's one of the benefits to being alone. Well, benefits depending on how you look at it. I also take care of my father. Now, my mother is also alive, but she's in very good health. And my father is wheelchair bound, and he lives with a female roommate. She has her own room. She is very young. She's only maybe a year older than I am, but in very, very poor health. I think in the last 6 months we've found out that she has congestive heart failure. She's somebody that lays in bed and watches TV all day long. She does not work due to, I guess, health reasons. And the only time she gets out of bed is to go out on the patio and smoke a cigarette. So I find it very hard to feel sorry for someone who not only is not taking care of themselves, I mean, beyond not taking care of yourself, but you could also kind of help your situation by going out for a walk, eating better. There's some things you can do to make your health better and not necessarily give yourself that death sentence, and she's still choosing not to. Again, you need to help yourself. It's sad because my father is very emotional about it, knowing that, after all the health concerns that he's had, and at his age, that she's gonna probably go before him. It's sad to watch it. Now, my father has had, let's see, he's had some issues, but I think last summer it was manageable. It was the summer before that was very, very unmanageable. I will first say that I do share responsibility with taking care of my father with my brother, and my brother does the most for him. takes him to literally all doctor's appointments. And I do have other videos, I think, where I've talked about this a little bit, where basically I was helping my father with appointments for vision and now hearing, and my brother takes care of literally all else. Now, my father had his leg amputated because of circulation issues with his veins, which is a direct result of smoking. He has had a heart attack, and he had I believe, a quadruple bypass. That was probably 10 years ago. He's fairly okay as far as that goes. He had a brain aneurysm when he was a teenager, a young teenager. I want to say 13, something like that. He had a seizure. He's been on seizure medicine since. And surprisingly, having been a smoker most of his life, he does not have COPD. He does have sleep apnea, and he is on Zepbound to lose weight, and I think he's only got a couple more pounds to lose before he can get Inspire, which is the chest implant to help with the sleep apnea. So things are looking good for him up until he had the surgery, and they had to transplant veins in his body to help circulation issues, which ultimately in the one leg didn't work, which is why they had to do the amputation. But anyway, all in all, he's in pretty decent shape. He's on a lot of medications. I would say he's probably on, I don't know how many pills now. I don't remember. I had to sort his medicine when his roommate was in the hospital with the heart condition, and she sorts his pills for him. And I don't know. I don't want to get off on a tangent on any one topic, I guess. But it just kind of goes to show you that there's a lot of responsibility, and thankfully my brother helps out a lot too. Now, I do go to my father's, and I clean for him once a month usually. He's definitely not the cleanest person. He doesn't even pick up his own trash, really. He's got a trash can in his bedroom, and he just does the basketball thing, and if it makes it, it makes it, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's frustrating because he could be a little better about it. But, he can't change his sheets. He can't, do any of that. So I have the same car circulating. I think it's an old Corvette. Looks like probably early 70s. And obviously it's a stick shift. They stalled it out a couple times. So, we have both of these things that we're juggling, and both can be very, very stressful. Not just in handling them, but in making the right decisions for ourselves. To, like when it comes to your kids, like at what point are you helping versus enabling? And then you also have to kind of navigate, or not really navigate, like respecting the autonomy of, like your parents' wishes. I have talked to my father a couple of times about possibly going into an assisted living facility. That is a very real possibility because I work and my brother works, and yes, he can take care of himself right now, but if he gets to a point where he needs that extra help and you can't get the home health nurse to come in or different things, he may be forced to go to that point, and of course he comes back and says, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that. Well, I would love to respect your wishes, but the facts are the facts, and if you cannot take care of yourself, there is no choice. So that could be a very hard decision that has to be made at some point. A lot of us too, Gen Xers, are kind of at the peak of our careers, and I would say for me, I don't know, I guess it depends on what your definition is of peak of your career, but the thing that I focus on right now for myself anyway is making the most money I can right now, because I'm trying to look at my Social Security benefit is going to obviously be the, how do I put this? The sum of the last, 35 years of what you made in income. And so right now, my very early years are being calculated when I didn't make that much, and I'm making more now than I did then. So obviously making the most money now counts towards what that Social Security benefit will be. So it's important for me right now to make these critical decisions in what is best for me financially in regards to the career. So I'm trying to be very strategic with that. And when you're taking so much time to take a parent to appointments, and or any drama that might be going on at home because you have adult children, thankfully I didn't have too much of that, but these are the things that can really be stressful, and it's very taxing. But I also want to comment on, there's hidden costs. There's, especially gas right now. So I think the last really piece to this is also navigating the healthcare system when it comes to our parents. I think navigating that for ourselves sometimes is stressful, but the one thing that I will say for me is I am very grateful and lucky, because I would say about 20 years ago, I worked for a healthcare company locally. And that was the second healthcare position I held. I held one probably 10 years prior to that. And they were both customer service positions, and at the time, technically entry-level positions. These were before I had my college education. And customer service is a hard job, especially when it comes to healthcare, because I remember people having their claims denied, and then they would call you and try to explain to you that it was their sick child, and I didn't deny your claim. I'm just taking your call. And they would say some real nasty things to you. I hope your children get sick, or I hope you have to experience this at some point, so where I'm coming from, or something like this. Some really horrible things have been said. And the bottom line, though, is I had the formal training on what that understanding of benefits are, what things mean, what out-of-pocket maximum means, yearly maximums, lifetime maximums, co-insurance, co-payments. The biggest one would be, letters of medical necessity, things like that. A lot of times people will realize that they don't have coverage for something. Most of the time, all you really need to do is have your doctors submit letters of medical necessity to the review team, and I'm not saying it's this easy and that if you do it, you get covered, but taking no for an answer initially should never be acceptable. If it is something that you need and your doctor writes a letter of medical necessity, it goes to a panel of other doctors and nurses, and they review it, and they review your health history, and it takes time, and it's a process. But sometimes you can get things covered, and most people don't know that. Unless you have someone that is truly an advocate for you, that maybe works for the insurance company or something like that, people will just accept no for an answer a lot of times, and it's unfortunate. But with that said, I'm gonna end the video here. But I'd like to know if you are dealing with parents. Are you dealing with parents and adult children? And you know, how are you balancing everything? You know, are you still working? Are you also a grandparent? Like, there's a lot to consider, and it's tough. And I think a lot of us, though, we know how to balance things, especially when you're the kind of personality maybe that you've always been people's rock. You've always been the strong one, and I've always been that way. And again, I am grateful that I'm not doing this, you know, by myself. So with that said, I appreciate you watching the video. Please leave me a comment, and I will see you guys on the next one.